Hello everyone, this is Octavius from North American Archery. Thank you so much for tuning into our channel. Today I want to talk to you about canting your bow. I got 5 tips on how to cant a traditional bow, how you come about even making the decision to cant your bow, really. But you may not be somebody that actually cants your bow. You might be a person that shoots straight up and down, but I still think this video will help you monumentally if you decide to learn a different skill in traditional archery. So stay tuned and enjoy this video. All right, guys, like I said, we're gonna learn a little bit about canting a bow in traditional archery. And so what I want you to do is understand one thing. This is from my experience over the years on how I cant my bow, and when I really dissect why I cant and how I cant, these are the top 5 things that I learned over the years in canting my bow. Number 1 is, what is your minimum cant? You got to learn that. Learn the minimum cant of your bow. A lot of guys never learn what it means to cant your bow and why you cant it in the first place. Yes, it looks cool to cant your bow when you're hunting or you're shooting in the backyard or somebody comes by, it's like, wow, that guy looks like he knows what he's doing, right? But really, there's a reason for why we cant our bow. And the reason why is because, as you can see on this Bear Kodiak recurve right here, set up for hunting, ready to go, right? But you can see that it has a pretty big sight window. Your sight window is the opening on your riser. It's what you can look through or past when you're holding the bow. This is a pretty big sight window, and when you look through this sight window right here, this opening, you're going to see your sight picture. But some bows don't have that. Some bows have a very little sight window, okay? Similar to this bow. Let me grab this bow. This bow is a long bow, and look at the difference between the two sight windows. So your sight picture is going to be affected when you're putting it in front of your face. You're going to have more limb on this longbow in your face, so you're going to cant this a little bit more so you can open up your sight window so you can have a better sight picture. This one right here, you can almost shoot straight up and down. You don't have to cant too much. That's what it means when it comes to learning the minimum that your bow can cant, because you don't really need to cant this Super Kodiak here by Bear Archery that much. I can shoot this bow straight up and down if I want to, or just a cant about 2 o'clock. So when you learn your equipment, you learn your bow, that's what's going to dictate how much you really need to cant. Now you can cant as much as you want. You can cant a severe cant, you can cant about a 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. You can cant like this, completely horizontal, depending on the situation. But really what the start is going to be is what the bow is designed to do. Look at this big sight window here versus the other bow that I picked up. Okay, that's why I grabbed this bow, because it's probably the one with the biggest sight window that I have. All right, so I've shot this bow straight up and down before, even though I don't like to shoot straight up and down, and was pretty accurate and didn't feel weird at all, because it's really set up for somebody to shoot however they want to, really. And so the first step when it comes to learning to cant a bow is to learn what the minimum cant is on the bow that you're using. Number 2 is learn to vary the cant of your bow. What do I mean by varying the cant of your bow? The closer you are to a target, the more your cant is going to be. Why is that? Well, it's because you're going to have more and more in your face. If the bow is closer to what you're trying to hit, right, you're going to have to move it out of the way. But the farther you are away from something, you don't have to cant as much. But if I'm close to the target, I'm going to have to cant that bow quite a bit, okay? Versus if I'm farther away and I want to look at that, okay? If I want to look at that, I just got to move it a little bit. That's what it means to vary the cant of your bow. Because if I'm shooting farther away, I'm canting very little because my sight window doesn't need to be opened up as much. Sometimes some bows like this one could be shot straight up and down at 40 yards, right? And other bows, you're gonna have to cant pretty severely, a little bit more, I should say, farther away, depending on how it's set up. But all bows, when you're close to what you're trying to hit, very close to an animal that you're trying to harvest, you're going to want to cant it a little bit, in my opinion, so you can open up your sight window to have a better sight picture to hit what you're looking. Number 3 is learn to cant shooting downhill and uphill. What does that mean to learn how to cant shooting downhill and uphill? Well, a lot of times when we're in a tree stand, we struggle to know how much we should cant this bow. If a deer is right underneath your tree stand, and I've had this happen to me, my bow was about like this, shooting down on said deer, okay? I couldn't shoot it like this or this, no canting. I just pretty much laid that bow down and bent this arm down and pretty much shot it like this, straight up and down, because it's right underneath me. I don't want any bow. I want to open up that sight window as much as possible so that when I lay it down like this, I'm able to hit what I'm trying to hit. But if I have it like this, it's going to hit the tree stand. If I have it like this, it's going to hit the tree stand. When I laid it like this and kind of laid it right in front of that ladder, that's when I was able to harvest that deer. And I remember that's happened to me several times when bow hunting. And so when you are shooting downhill, sometimes you're going to have that bow almost horizontal, even maybe like this a little bit, because you're really trying to look down that arrow shaft. You're trying to have every single thing in your peripheral so that you can make a ethical shot on an animal. Most people cant their bow because they're bow hunters. Most people don't cant their bow when they're in their target practicing Olympic style shooting. They don't really do that. But for us bow hunters or people that want to learn a different skill, we're going to want to definitely vary that cant when you're shooting uphill, downhill. Now, when you shoot downhill, the biggest thing is that you need to understand that that bow is going to change on you, so you need to practice that. If you don't practice shooting downhill, you're not going to know how to shoot downhill when the pressure situation hits, and now you're in the middle of a situation where you don't feel comfortable, or your muscle memory and your actual subconscious can't take over. Now, when you shoot uphill, the biggest thing is that you want to shoot understanding that it's going to depend on the distance. If I'm shooting uphill, my cant may vary as well, but most of the time it's going to be depending on the distance away. Just getting this riser and my sight window opened up, and I'm shooting uphill, so depending on how far it is, it's going to vary the cant as well. Then you got number 4, learn to move your head with the canting of your bow. You want to learn how to move your head. A lot of people, when they cant, they just cant the bow and keep their head straight on. When you actually move your cant, you move your head like this. So if I go ahead and knock an arrow for you on this Super Kodiak, and I cant my bow here, one thing you're going to find is if you cant like this, you need to get down in there like that. You don't want to cant and keep your head like this away from what you're trying to hit. You want to get down in there and lean with the actual cant. That's so essential. That's something that I didn't learn for a long time. I would cant my bow, but not actually cant my head. Okay, so you want to move your head with the bow. You want to move that head with the bow and have everything streamlined. You don't want to be like this, canting your bow, but your face is straight on like this, trying to figure out what you're... No, you want to cant your head. You want everything in alignment. You want to be pretty much lined up to the point where your dominant eye is looking over that arrow shaft. So your peripheral vision is taking your arrow shaft into to consider that. Your peripheral vision is taking into account everything around you, your depth perception. It's taking into account pretty much the cant of your bow if you're in line with what you're trying to do, no matter what it is, okay? So it's definitely a skill that you want to learn. Number 5 is learning to cant your bow is just cooler than not canting your bow. Okay, so if you don't cant your bow, it's not cool. Okay, it's just kind of a joke, but it is true. Learning to cant your bow is a cool skill to have. It looks cool, it feels great, it's very efficient in pressure situations and harvesting animals, and it opens up your sight window, opens up your sight picture, and you're going to be much more accurate when you learn to vary the cannon of your bow, when you learn these type of things depending on what bow you're actually using in the field. So guys, I appreciate everything you do. Thank you for your likes and your subscriptions. Turn on your post notifications. If there's a question that you have, please put it in the comments. This is a question that I received from one of my subscribers, one of you, asking when to cant the bow, when not to cant the bow. So I thought to myself, you know what, there's some things that I've learned over the years, and I figured I would just share it with you, okay? So if you have any questions, put in the comments. I'll answer them as soon as I have an opportunity. And I want you to remember something. You don't have to get ready when you stay ready. All right, guys, stay in the saddle. We'll talk to you soon.